Hey, what's up, guys? Welcome to Unit 5, Day 10. Today we are going to be solving multi-step equations that are all in context in word problems. And so in the last lesson, we were just looking at phrases and translating those into algebraic equations. But in today's lesson, we're actually going to be looking at actual context and real life situations and then solving them. Okay, so to get us started, I want to remind you of how we really attack word problems, right? And so if you remember our Cub strategy, this is a good model for approaching and solving word problems. And so if you will remember, the C in Cubs stands for to circle the numbers. So we're going to circle the numbers. Then we are going to underline the question. Then we are going to box the keywords. And then lastly, we are going to solve the problem. All right. And so these are just our generic steps for solving any type of word problem. Now, specifically to solve multi-step problems, or so word problems involving multi-step equations, here's just some guidelines to help you. I'm going to be sort of following these, but if you ever get stuck and you're wanting to know how do I approach this problem or how I solve it, here are just some steps that you can use to take to solve specifically word problems involving equations. So first, read the problem using the Cub strategy. Second, we want to identify the number that represents the unknown, so the variable. Okay, we want to identify the variable, what we don't know. Okay, this is what we're looking for essentially. All right, then we want to write an equation. Okay, so we're going to be identifying the variable. We also are going to be writing an equation, and then once we have our equation set up, we are going to use the inverse operations to isolate the variable, to get the variable by itself. And then lastly, we want to check your answer by substituting it back into the original equation. All right, so here are some steps. And so here's the deal. In this lesson today, I want you to attempt, with the guidelines that I just gave you, I want you to try to solve the problem on your own before I go over it, right? So we've already done enough of this, and really the key is just reading the problem and then being able to sort of, figure out what the variable is, and then write the equation and then solve the equation. So I want you to try to do that on your own and then watch me do it. And so that's what I want you to do throughout this entire lesson. There's several examples. I want you to attempt to solve it on your own first, and then I want you to see if you got it correct. All right, so go ahead and pause it and see if you can solve it. All right, this first one says it costs $12 to get into the fair, okay, and $1.75 for each ride ticket. Cadence bought X tickets and spent $47. Find the number of tickets Cadence bought at the fair, okay? So this is what we're looking for. We are looking for the number of tickets that Cadence bought at the fair. All right, well, in this problem, it actually tells us what our variable is. All right, and so our variable X is the number of tickets. So we have the number of tickets. Now, I'm going to write my equation based on what the problem says. So it says it costs $12 to get into the fair. So she has to pay $12 just to get in. And then it says, and so for each, and so I'm adding this to the amount of each ticket or cost for each ticket. And it says $1.75 is how much she paid. So it is going to be $1.75 for each ticket. And so that means I have to multiply the price times the number of tickets. So that's going to be 1.75x. and that is going to equal the amount that she spent. So she spent $47. Okay. So again, $12 is how much it costs to get into the fair, plus the amount that it costs for each ticket, which is $1.75 per each ticket. So that means I have to take the number of tickets, and multiply it by the cost. All right. And then from there, all right, to solve this, I just use my inverse operation. So I subtract 12 because I'm trying to get the x by itself. Subtract 12. That's going to give me 0 pairs. So I got $1.75. X equals 35. And so then I'm going to get the x by itself, this is multiplication. Inverse is to divide. So I'm going to divide by 1.75. Divide by 1.75. And then 35 divided by 1.75. That is 20. So x equals 20. So the answer is that she bought 20 tickets. Well, to verify, to check my answer, what I'm going to do is I'm going to take the 20 and I'm going to go put it in for x. And that is going to tell me whether or not I got my answer correct. And I want to show you how to do that because checking your answers is going to be super important. Because in all of these questions, I can know whether or not my answer is correct. So I'm going to put in my equation. My equation was 12 plus 1.75 x. All right. And then, so that is my equation. Well, that's the expression, but I'm not going to put equals. I'm going to put in x equals 20. And then C, that should give me 47. And that's how I will know if my answer is correct. So when I put in the x equals 20, you should see that that now equals 47. All right. So I know my answer is correct there. All right. So let's, so that's for question number 1. All right. I want you to pause it. Hey, look, and make sure you pause it for real. Because if you don't pause it and you just watch me do it, the person you're really cheating is yourself. Hey, look, for real, I want you to pause this and see if you can solve this question on your own. All right. Aaliyah had $24 to spend on 7 pencils. After buying them, she had $10. How much did each pencil cost? Okay, so Aaliyah, she had $24 to spend on 7 pencils. Okay, after buying them, she had $10. So after buying, how much did she buy? So I probably should box that. After buying, she had $10. All right, and so first I want to identify what is my variable. Okay, well, it says how much did each pencil cost? Well, I don't know that. So a good rule of thumb is whatever I don't know, really whatever I'm finding, oftentimes is the unknown. That is the variable. So the variable is going to be P, which is the cost, we'll say is the cost of the pencils, okay? If you chose something different, if you chose a different letter, or maybe you said C, that's totally fine, all right? But the cost of the pencils is what's unknown, and that is what we're looking for, all right? Well, it says she had $24 to spend on 7 pencils, okay? And after buying them, she had $10. So there's a couple of different ways you could write this. The way I'm going to write it is I'm actually going to kind of think about it. All right, she bought 7 pencils. All right, each pencil cost P amount, okay? Then she had $10 left over, so the amount of the pencils plus the 10 equals the amount that she had to spend, okay? You probably, maybe you wrote it backwards like this. You said, well, 10, and she had 10 left over, so maybe you said 24 minus 10, okay? And that equaled how much she paid for the pencils, and did 7p. Okay, really you could have done it either way. It really is based on how you kind of read this and interpret it. But what I will say is you're going to get the same answer when you do however you set this up. Okay, so or you probably, actually, now that I think about it, you could have said 24 minus the 7p, and that's going to equal the 10. Matter of fact, I think that might have been the way some of you wrote it up. But like I said, regardless of how you set this up, you're still going to get the correct answer. All right, so those are different ways. Let's go ahead and solve either one of these using the inverse operations. So we're going to subtract 10, subtract 10. That's going to cancel. That leaves me with 7p equals 24 minus 10, and that's 14. I'm running out of room here, but I'm going to divide by 7 on both sides to get rid of those 7s, and that's going to be p equals 2. Okay, so p equals 2 is the cost of each of the pencils. All right. Again, I could show you that if I solve this, I'm going to end up with the same thing for each of them. All right, so let's check my answer real quick because I want to really make sure that we are all getting in the habit of checking our answers here. Okay, so let me get this right. Put this right. There we go. Okay. All right, so my equation. Okay, 7p plus 10. Okay, and then where p equals 2. All right, and then that should equal 24. All right. So, hey friends, I want to make sure, again, I want to emphasize, please make sure that you are checking your work by plugging in your answer. Okay, on the test, really there's none of these that you should get wrong because all of these you can verify using the Desmos calculator. Okay, so please make sure that you get into the habit of doing that. All right, now we got several more. They are going to get a little harder, so just continue to read the problem using the Cub strategy, then identify what is the missing variable, then set up the equation, solve the equation, and then plug your answers back in. All right, so hey, go ahead and pause it and solve it. All right, Desaya and Selena, shout out to my former students that are now freshmen in high school. And some of their other friends are going to Busch Gardens this weekend. The park is $45 a person. Okay, so $45 a person. Food is an additional $18 per person. Okay, parking is $10 per car, and they all decide to ride together. Question: how many friends went to the trip if the total cost was $262? Okay, so I am looking for how many other friends went on the trip. So I know Desaya and Selena went, okay, but then I'm also trying to figure out how many other people went on the trip if the total cost. All right, so I'm looking for, we can say friends, or I'm gonna say people. Okay, so P, what I don't know is the number of people who went, I'm just going to say on the trip, okay? So the number of people on the trip, all right? So let's say we said, I'm going to now write my equation. The park is $45 a person. So we got 45 P, okay? So every person is going to have to pay $45. Right? And then food is an additional 18. So each person is also going to have to pay $18. So 45p, each person is paying 45, and each person is also having to pay 18. Okay. Well, then it says parking is $10 per car, and they all decided to ride together. Well, do they all have to pay the $10 for parking? No, because they all rode together. So it is going to be just plus 10 okay? And then it says all of the total cost was 262, so that is going to be what this is equal to, all right? And now I'm going to solve this, and I am going to use the inverse operations, but before I do that, I need to combine these like terms because both of these are P. So 45P plus 18P. So 45 plus 18 gives me 63P plus 10 equals 262. All right? And so now I'm going to use the inverse operation. I'm going to subtract by 10 on both sides. That's going to cancel. That leaves me with 63P equals 252, okay? And so then I just divide that, 252 divided by 63, and that gives me P equals 4, okay? So P equals 4, but I have to be careful here because it says how many other friends went on the trip, okay? So 4 people went total, but 2 of those people are Desaya and Selena, okay? So the answer to this question isn't 4 people, it is that 2 other people went. So the answer here is 2 other people went on the trip. Okay. So that one, again, that is a more complex, a harder problem, specifically because of what is asking you in the end. But there you go. All right, that is probably the hardest type problem that you could see. All right, so we've done some easy ones, we've done some medium ones, and that is sort of a hard one. All right, so we got 3 more examples, and for the sake of time, I'm gonna end it right there. Okay, and so I want you to finish the remaining problems, all right? Again, making sure that you use your steps, right? The steps, read it using the cup strategy. Secondly, identify what is the missing variable. Thirdly, you're gonna write your equation. Fourthly, you're gonna solve the equation by isolating the variable, getting it by itself, and then make sure that you check your answer to make sure, plug it in, make sure that it is correct, all right? And so that is all for this video. Thank you so much for watching, and we out.